You are listening and you're watching the Black Book Show in collaboration with Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. I am the founder of the Black Book Show, Makonnen Sankofa, as well as being the founder of the Black Book Show. I am also author of the following books: The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, and Repatriation; Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa; How to Market and Sell Your Book, a guide for beginners. Now, I can't hold it up currently because I don't have any copies left on me. But that's my third book. And then my latest book called Experiences of Living Across Africa. It's a pleasure to be joining you to be hosting the Black Book Show from Lagos, Nigeria, this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you are, because, this is an international platform where we have people that joining us, some from the UK, some in the continent, Africa, some in USA, Canada, the Caribbean, different parts of the world. The Black Book Show is a platform which I established 3 years ago, about 3 years ago and 7 months now. And I'm happy to say that over the last 3 years and 7 months, that I have had between 300 and 350 authors of African heritage on the platform that have showcased their books. And for those who haven't watched the Black Book Show or not familiar with the Black Book Show, the format of the show is it is a show that is done here on Zoom. It's also on Facebook Live, Black Culture Radio, and then the video of this will be put up on P English Literature YouTube channel. But you'll be hearing a variety of authors that are going to talk about their book for around 15 minutes. The authors that will be speaking, the genres or the topics that they'll be speaking about is a wide range of different topics. So each author gets about 15 minutes to talk about their book. So it's not an interview or Q&A that I'm going to be doing. They're going to be delivering a speech. Some of them will be doing a presentation. Some of them will may have prepared for the 15 minutes of what they want to say. But you'll be hearing, a wide range of authors talk on a variety of different topics. So I'm not going to go any further. Without that, I'm just going to, introduce the first author onto the Black Book Show. And I recently had the pleasure of interviewing him for, this is the Black Book Show, the virtual book tour. I also have the Black Book, the radio show, and the podcast. And I recently interviewed him for the Black Books radio show and podcast, which is going to be coming out soon. But you're going to hear him now talk about his book called Free from Eczema. It's Paul, and I recently met Paul. It was about just over a month ago at the Black British Book Festival. It was great to meet Paul, and some of the other authors at that festival, and we exchanged contact details, and we stayed in touch from there. And Paul, I would just like to introduce you onto the Black Book Show virtual book tour for your first time. Please start by, just introducing yourself, just telling us where you're based, maybe saying a little bit about yourself, and then go on to tell us, all about the book that you've written.
Okay, McConan, thank you for the opportunity. And I'm Paul Mattis. I have a business called Free from Eczema, hence FFE, which is in the title. This is my book, which I'm going to be talking about today, Free from Eczema, which is a step-by-step guide to finally take control of your eczema through lifestyle change. So let me get into this. So I am, as I mentioned, I'm Paul Mattis. I have African lineage, where my parents are from the Caribbean. I was born here in the UK, in Manchester. So just to a little bit about me. So I've kind of like worked in the health and wellbeing voluntary sector for about 28 years. So I've worked on a variety of health and wellbeing issues from young people through to adults. So in terms of getting into that field of work, I'm very passionate about supporting people, whether they have cancer, whether diabetes, whether they have a range of other issues. My passion is people who have the skin condition eczema. I'm the founder of a charity called Greater Manchester Eczema and Skin Support, and I support people who have inflammatory skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis. I am an eczema coach and an author, hence me being on the show. So the title of my book, as I mentioned, is Free from Eczema, a step-by-step guide to finally take control of your eczema through lifestyle change. It's a transformative guide which kind of blends psychology and kind of like practical tips for supporting people who have eczema in terms of improving their skin. So I'm very much into mindset and having a growth mindset. So the book can like leaned towards having a growth mindset in terms of managing a condition, and also supports people to take manageable steps to improve the condition, using or utilizing all the kind of lifestyle areas, so including diet, hydration, eczema, skincare, and sleep and supplements. So the book itself, the way it's been written, it kind of equips readers to develop the tools like goal setting, affirmations, journaling, using habit trackers and using technology to support people to improve the skin. So it's a very different method in terms of the traditional method, which I'll go on to a bit later on. So whether the person is somebody who has kind of like got eczema quite recently or has had it for quite some time, my book, I believe, is a must read for anyone who's looking for a holistic approach to managing the skin condition. So what's my relationship with the book itself? So I'm someone who's had the skin condition eczema for, well, since I was about 6 months old. I've had it in varying degrees of severity. I've been hospitalized twice, so I've had it from top to toe. I've had it quite bad in the past. It's been quite an isolating journey. I suppose I never really knew anybody who had the condition, and so I never really spoke to anybody about it. So on that sense, it was quite isolating, really. So, and I've kind of like, through having the condition, I've dealt with all the kind of secondary effects of having the condition. So the psychological impact of having all the kind of like negative self-talk, negative self-image, like a confidence, anxiety, and bouts of depression. I've been to some depths of despair in terms of having this condition. And as I kind of alluded to before, I've been down the road of using pharmaceutical prescription medication to manage my condition, like for instance, steroid creams. And I kind of like, it was a very much an up and down journey over kind of the 30 years where I really struggled with the condition. And so after being sick of having itchy, dry and damaged skin, then I kind of like said to myself, you know what, enough is enough. I'll work towards kind of finding my own solutions to improve my skin using or utilizing the whole lifestyle areas. That is what my book is about, utilizing lifestyle areas to better managing people's skin. So the approach that I've used into my book, in essence, it's a self-help guide for those who are kind of like motivated to kind of like manage their skin themselves. I do one-to-one coaching with people where I provide that kind of like accountability framework to support people to manage their skin. But this book is for somebody who is motivated to get on with it and make those changes, make the changes themselves. So the main themes, as I mentioned before, is kind of like that kind of like psychological, the psychology of living free from eczema, which is about the person that you need to be, and then the practical application, which is those things you need to do to manage the skin. So as I mentioned, I do coach people in terms of managing the skin. So I've kind of written the book from a coaching perspective. So it kind of like supports the reader in understanding where they're at now with the skin, where they want to be, and how they're going to get there in terms of utilizing sustainable habits in those lifestyle areas. So if I give you a bit of a flavor of kind of the chapters of the book. So in the beginning, kind of like I talk about kind of why I wrote the book. I talk about the kind of different lifestyle areas of the framework into managing the condition. I talk about that, start mentioning things like habits and motivation, accountability, and kind of like tools that I've found very helpful in terms of managing my own condition over the years. And those tools are kind of using affirmations and journaling, using some form of activity tracker to kind of like track progress while doing those things to develop more sustainable habits. So at the beginning of the book, there's a bit of an assessment framework, which has like a traffic light framework to it, where once you complete the assessment, then you put all your answers into this kind of traffic light system framework, and that gives you a gauge of where you are at. That's a bit of a measure. So if you're in the red area, then it's a cause of concern, and you need to kind of work up to the green area. So let's say, for instance, green in terms of hydration, then you're doing very, very well, and you've got some good habits in terms of hydration. Maybe in the red, you don't drink much water at all. And I come across a number of people who water is like kryptonite to them for some reason, but it is one of the keys in terms of managing the skin, as far as I'm concerned. So in terms of the chapter 1 of the book, it's about where it all began, and I kind of like share what it's been like for me having a condition, and how I turn things around in terms of myself to have the smooth, soft skin that I have today. And my skin was very, very different before. So in terms of chapter 2, this is where I kind of like break the book down now into these 2 different themes: the psychology of living free from eczema and the practical application of living from the condition as well. So in terms of the first theme, then chapter 2, I much talk about habits. Habits are, for me, the cornerstone of managing this condition. So I talk about how to build habits, we talk about goal setting, and using a range of kind of like mental rehearsal techniques to support the getting those habits in place, so to speak, or making them sustainable. I talk about behavior change in chapter 3. So I look at kind of the process of behavior change and motivation and self-belief, those kinds of areas. At the end of each section, there's a notes section where, in terms of the information that you've read in each section, then you can make notes to record any information that you want to look back at a bit further on. So chapter 4, talk about affirmations, or why we use affirmations, the purpose of using them, how to write them. I'm a strong believer in the way we talk to ourselves, or the way we talk to ourselves quite positively is part of the healing process of having this condition. And so I think I'm quite big on affirmations for various aspects of a person's life, not only in terms of having a skin condition. Chapter 5 is all about purpose of mindset. So why have a strong purpose? And it's really, really important to have a purpose. When you have a purpose, then you have more of a vision to where you want to go and why you're actually developing these habits to better manage your skin. I talk about having a growth mindset, and I encompass kind of like time management in all of this, because when it comes to your skin, we need to manage our time and make sure we put our skin first in everything we do to manage our condition more effectively. From this point on, each of the chapters, so there's an information sheet which has the various lifestyle topics in them, and then each section then has what I call a transformation sheet, which is basically a coaching conversation, which in a sense replaces myself. So it takes a person from where they're at now with the skin, where they want to be, and how they're going to get there. Chapter 6 looks at distractions, so looks at things like stress and how we manage stress, and how stress impacts on the skin condition. Chapter 7, we look at triggers, so all those kind of things that might trigger off the skin. So looking at some of the common triggers, how the immune system reacts to a number to the triggers that in terms of the skin. Talk about how to support the immune system, and the type of habits that might weaken the immune system, and how we can like build it and make it stronger. Now we can get into the second phase, the kind of practical application of having a condition. So all the things that we need to now be doing into these lifestyle areas. So chapter 8, that talks about hydration. So in the kind of like the consequences of poor hydration, the importance of water in the whole grand scheme of things, how much water we're drinking, the benefits of water. So we really delve into that. Chapter 9, we talk about diet. And so look at kind of like the benefits of good nutrition, the consequences of poor nutrition. We talk about the 3 food groups. People, I find, don't tend to really understand carbs, protein, and fat, so we kind of delve into that as well. We talk about the people's relationship with food. I mean, a lot of times people eat for taste and not for health. So we kind of like get into some kind of conversation around that. So we kind of look at gut health. Chapter 10, we talk about sleep, so the importance of it, the consequences of lack of sleep, how much sleep you actually need, what kind of food support having a better sleep, and another tips and tricks for kind of getting a better sleep at night time. Chapter 11, I talk about exercise, so the importance of it, the benefit of it, how to build an exercise habit, and how to make it sustainable. Chapter 12, I delve into supplements. So like what's again the price of poor nutrition, what kind of factors promote good nutrition, and some of the supplements out there which are good for the skin condition. Chapter 13, look at skincare. So we kind of now start look at, okay, the skin structure, why the skin behaves the way it does in terms of having the condition, some of the common irritants for the skin. And we look at kind of like a good skincare regime. So at the end of the book, I repeat the assessment questionnaire and that color-coded framework again. And so the point of this is to, once the person goes through the assessment again or the questionnaire again, then it's an opportunity to look at, okay, what improvement has been made over the duration of managing or improving the skin. And then finally, at the end of the book, then there's the clients, so testimonials in terms of people who I've worked with in the past. So quite a comprehensive book, I think. I think what I suppose the message or the impact that I want my book to have on people is that I want them to be free from the condition. I want people who have this condition to start living a better quality of life, because it can be very debilitating. You know what I mean? It can really stop you from doing a range of things that somebody might normally do who doesn't have the condition, whether that be foods people eat, how people think, where people go, what people wear. So all those kind of things are impacted by the state of somebody's skin. This book on my approaches is not, I'm not saying it's a cure. I would never say that. But I would say, but in terms of myself, these are the approaches I've used to manage my skin, and my skin is in a much better condition than it was before or when my skin was, like I said, when I've been hospitalized on a number of occasions. So I want anyone who reads my book, I want them, one, to improve the skin, two, to be equipped and have the knowledge and skills and have the resilience so that should they find themselves in a place where they've taken a dip in terms of the skin because of some type of issue that has affected them, they know what to do to get out of it and to get the skin back to a place where they're feeling happy and confident with it again. So in terms of the book itself, sometimes people might read it and they might struggle to implement some of the approaches, because sometimes people need some support in terms of motivation, accountability, and those kind of things. So my email address is paul@freefromeczema.com. My phone number is 07786 789 567. And these details are in the back of the book anyway, so people can always contact me, and then we can start having a conversation to how I can further support them. And my book can be found on Amazon. So my final kind of like message to anybody who has a condition is it really is time to take control of your eczema and to stop letting your eczema take control of you. Like I said before, it will dictate every part of your life, as it has done in my life in the past, hence me needing to make a change to get to a place where I'm at now with my skin. And you're only ever really you when your skin is in tip-top condition. When it's not in tip-top condition, it can take you to a very desperate place. So I really want people to have a better quality of life. I don't want people just to cope with the condition. I want people to better manage the condition and live free from the condition. So my advice is buy the book. Go through the book, use the approaches, really get to work and really be honest with yourself and put 100% into it. And I believe that if you do, then you will attain the soft, smooth skin that you desire. So I'm Paul Mattis, eczema coach and author of the book entitled Free from Eczema, a step-by-step guide to finally take control of your eczema through lifestyle change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. That was a wonderful speech, and I'm just looking at some of the comments now, and someone's commented, "Sounds great. I need this book, Paul." Yeah, if you could please also put the link to where the book is available. I know you said the book is Free from Eczema. It's available on Amazon, but also, you know, if you just please put that link in the Zoom chat as well, and you mentioned your number and also your email address. Now, for those who are listening on Black Culture Radio or who are on Facebook, can you just repeat, your email and your contact number again, in case they couldn't catch that?
Yeah, so my email address is paul@freefromeczema.com. paul@freefromeczema.com. And my phone number is 07786 789 567. I repeat that, 07786 789 567. Yes, and I will put them, I'll put them in the link also.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Paul Mattis, author of the book Free from Eczema. Right, you're listening to and watching the Black Book Show hosted by Makonnen Sankofa in collaboration with Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. I'm now going to go on to our next author. Our next author is Glenna. So Glenna, if you would like to come on, welcome to the Black Book Show virtual book tour for the first time. Please start by, I've already mentioned your name, but you can mention your name again and just give a brief introduction about who you are, where you're from, and then tell us all about the book or the books. So I know you've written more than one book. Tell us about the books you want to concentrate on talking about.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Makonnen. Thank you. And greetings to each and every one of you. My name is Glenna Oyajo. I am an author of self-help books. There are a couple books that I do want to share with you this evening. Well, it's evening here for me anyway. I'm from the UK. That's my location. I'm in London, UK. So I do have a couple of books that I want to share with you. Now, like I said, I'm a life coach, and I'm all about progress. Okay, I'm all about people progressing in life and not being stagnant, not being stuck. I'm also the creator of Power Mouth. I'm not sure if you can, for those of you that can see the banner in the background, and that's all about speaking life, not death, into any of our situations, speaking positive words and not negative words. I have a range of books for my Little Book Big Progress range. There's about 5 of them. I'm not going to go through all of that this evening. So there's 5 books. So these books, they're not long to read, but I believe they're packed with, some good information. It's packed with power, I like to say. One of the books that I am going to focus on today is Girl Who Told You That. It really doesn't matter. And yes, you have to save for attitude. I like to save for attitude. Girl Who Told You That. It really doesn't matter. Now, this book, I wrote it, especially tailoring, as you probably can guess, to my sisters out there, to the queens out there, that struggle maybe with, their image or just moving forward in life because of the things that maybe they were told from before. I believe that, the words that people say, they are so powerful, whether they're negative or positive words. And when they start speaking negative words into somebody's life, it can affect somebody. Now, I don't usually, I always, speak about things that I know about, that I have experienced. I wouldn't, write a book that I don't have no knowledge about. And I'm sure that most authors don't as well. What you write about, you kind of know about, you have a passion about as well. So this book, Girl Who Told You That, it's about not listening or getting over, shall I say, about the opinions that other people have said about you. I know that I've had to get over the opinions that people had about me, about my life. And, it kept me stuck in a place for a very, very long time, to where I didn't think that I could achieve anything. I didn't think that I could progress forward. I didn't think that, I had to find out that, wow, I could actually do this. Wow, I've actually got these gifts within me. I had to find myself over the years. So this book, I mean, whether you are male or female, you can read this book, because, you know, when you receive opinions from people, negative opinions from people that stop you in your track from moving forward, you know, it's a good read for anybody. But I did tailor it for the queens, and I'm most likely going to make another book for the kings as well. So it's about just overcoming the strongholds of, you know, people's words, the ideals of the world as well. You know, some of us may have grown up and we were told that, you know, we can't do a certain thing because of the way we look, or even the way we speak, or because of even our name, you know. But that's not the case. You can do whatever you set out to do. We were all purposed here on this earth. We have gifts and we have talents about us as well. And that's why I really do believe about speaking positivity, hence the power mouth, you know. And I always go back to the biblical scripture of Proverbs 18:21. And that's just talking about speaking life, you know, and not death as well. So I've had some great feedback regarding this book from queens. They have said that this is a really good book. It's encouraging. I'm here to motivate people. I'm here to see people move forward. I take delight in seeing people move forward in life, because I know what it is to be stuck in a place, being depressed, not knowing what you're supposed to be doing in life, asking like, what is my purpose in life, you know? And I'm telling you, when you find it, it is liberating, it is freeing, you know? So that's that book. And so I'm going to move on to my other book, and I'll let you know where my books are available after. And this one is Healing Rejection: 7 Progress Steps Towards Your Inner Freedom. Okay, so this book has 7 steps. It's talking about rejection. I am passionate about those who are under the heavy hand of rejection, because again, like I said, I don't write books if I haven't kind of experienced it or been there as well. And for many years, many years, I suffered from the blow, from the hands of rejection, being rejected. And I'm telling you, like I said, as I related to my other book, it stopped me in my tracks. It stopped me from really doing what I was called to do, what I was purposed to do. And I believe that rejection is major. Rejection is major. Now, rejection can be felt from anywhere, whether personal relationships or whatever industry somebody is within, even down to somebody that has passed away. And then that person may feel like they feel rejected, you know. So rejection is a major stronghold, and it stops people from, again, moving forward, from progressing in life as it did for myself. So, you know, I took it upon myself. I said, you know what, I'm going to write about this, because rejection affected me so much. And I really do believe that it affects a lot of people worldwide when it comes to rejection. Now, when it comes to this book, it's really helping the reader to, as it says, kill rejection, but to, you know, rejection will always come about in life. Rejection will always, you will get rejected. To this day, I am still rejected, but you know what? I know how to deal with it, that it is not, you know, overtaking my life. It is not stopping me from moving forward. You are gonna face rejection from wherever whether you apply for some and they reject you and they say no, and that's okay. So it's basically saying, you know what, it's okay if somebody says no to you. It's all right, you know, you can move on from that. You don't need to be stuck. You know, I'm all about, you know, the mindset just being free, because it's a mindset that can keep somebody back from really achieving things in life and walking into some major opportunities that has your name on it, that has our name on it. There are doors that have our name on it that are ready for us to walk through. But, you know, sometimes we're not ready because we are under the strongholds of whatever it is that is keeping us bound. And so I've addressed, you know, that in Killing Rejection. I'm going to read an excerpt from it, if I may. Now, it's 10 chapters in this book. Like I said, it's 7 steps. And I'm going to read a bit from chapter 1, and this is progress step 1, and it's accepting rejection, and it's subtitled Rejection Pandemic. I know exactly what rejection looks like, and I sure know how it feels. I will even go as far as saying that I know what rejection smells like. When you hear individual stories, it is definitely their own experience and not comparable to another. Because when that story is released, it comes with their inner deepest feelings of pain, but is yet still relatable by another person who has experienced rejection. Like most people's feelings towards a pandemic, one hopes for it to go away. But the reality is that where there are people, there will always be a host for rejection to live in. That's not to say that rejection cannot be killed in a person's personal life. It absolutely can. Because we have the right tools to kill rejection, overcoming that feeling of being rejected to feeling empowered. As I have said earlier on, rejection can be killed, but there is maintenance work that must be carried out from time to time so that the full force of rejection is not experienced, because we are not on guard. So this book, it offers steps as well as how to maintain as well, not being under that heavy hand of rejection, because as I said, in life, you will fall rejection. I get rejection up to this day. Guess what? It is life. Okay, but it's how you deal with it. It's your mindset. It's how you deal with things that happen in life. It's what you speak as well. You know, the power of the tongue. So important. The words that you say. I used to have so many bad things that I said about myself. I didn't like myself at one point. I couldn't stand to look at myself in the mirror. Now I can say today that I love myself. And I'm not saying it in being, you know, in ego or boastfulness, whatever. But yeah, you know what? Kind of boasting in, you know what? I'm happy. I'm blessed. I'm thankful for how I am created and for the gifts that God has placed within me, and that I am able to utilize to bless other people's lives as well. So these are my books. Like I said, they're self-help books for personal self-development. That's what I'm all about, progress. I'm all about people just progressing the next step. You know, you don't have to run straight ahead. You just take your time, just step by step, little by little, and heal. We need to heal. Some of us have open wounds, that need to be healed. And before I go, I would just like to read out the chapters as well, the title of the chapters in Killing Rejection. And so for chapter 1, progress step 1 is accepting rejection. Because there has to be some acceptance of what is taking place within your life, why you're stagnant, why a person is stagnant, why they're not progressing, why they're moving. It has to be faced. And then chapter 2 is progress step 2, and that's acknowledging your fears. Because again, with rejection, there are a lot of fears that it can cause major fears to step out, major fears to take certain opportunities. Because you've been rejected before, you may feel that you're going to be rejected again. You're not good enough, you know. So those are the fears that people have as well. And chapter 3, I introduce rejection's 5 family members, what I believe is rejection's 5 family members. Chapter 4 is progress step 3, and that's understanding you are not the problem. Because again, when it comes to rejection, you may feel, or a person may feel, that they are to blame for the rejection that they had received. Maybe it's me, maybe it's the way I look, maybe it's because why I was rejected. Chapter 5 is progress step 4, and that is making space for forgiveness. And, you know, that is so key. You know, when it comes to forgiving, it is so key. And I even speak about it. I'm not trying to go digress anything, but in one of my other books, in my little book, Big Progress range, called Dysfunctional Fam. It's a book called Dysfunction. In fact, I have it here. Okay, Dysfunctional Fam. And that's about family, friends, and forgiving, because the power in forgiving is tremendous to heal. It really is. Right. So again, I do cover this in chapter 5 in Killing Rejection. Chapter 6 is progress step 5, and that's investing in your holistic growth. Okay, everything about us, everything we need to, you know, we can't just pay attention to one part of our lives. We have to, you know, pay attention to all of us. We can't neglect any part of us. Okay, we were here, we were placed here on this earth, okay, to do the best that we can, you know. So yeah, all of us matters. I know my time is running out soon, so I'm just gonna quickly wrap up. Chapter 7 is progress step 6, and that is leaving your past in the past. Okay, your past has to stay there because you need to move forward. You can't drag that bag, that heavy burden with you. In fact, whatever was experienced in the past, make it be your stepping stone for where you're going, for your future. That's what I did. I took all that rejection that I received, and here I am today, and I'm still not going to stop. And then chapter 8 is progress step 7, and that's commitment to action, because I believe that we have to all be committed to the change within our lives. You know, we speak about wanting to change things, but what does action need? It needs our commitment, not just speaking about it. Yes, words are powerful, but it takes action as well. So those are the 7 steps. Like I said, there are 10 chapters within this book, but I've just spoken to you about the 7 steps within that. My books are available on Amazon. I do have a website as well, www.powermouth.co.uk. Yeah, so you can check them out there. The Killing Rejection book will be, because this has just come out on Amazon, so it will be out on my website really soon. And my email is glenna@powermouth.co.uk. And I believe that's it for me.
I just see a question in the chat. Are the books available in audiobook?
Oh, that is coming. Listen, this Killing Rejection, I'm on that right now on the audiobook. So if you kind of tune into my social media handles, I am Powermouth, and on Facebook is also Powermouth, then you will get up-to-date details of when the Audible book will be coming out, because it will be coming out real soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenna. What I just want you to do is put your links, you know, in the Zoom chat for the people that are here on Zoom. But can you just repeat again, you know, the website, just for the people that are on, you know, Facebook and listening via Black Culture Radio, in case they missed it. Just mention the titles of your books again, and then the website of where it can be purchased from.
Okay, so we have Killing Rejection, and also there are various other books, but the other book I talked about this evening was Girl Who Told You That. Okay, and it's available, from www.howlmouth.co.uk, and it's also available on Amazon and in the Kindle store as well. So Kindle store and paperback as well. Have I missed out anything else?
No, that's fine. So
I
thank
think
you
that's
very
about
much.
it.
Thank you very much, Glenna.
Thank you.
I enjoyed listening
you.
to your speech. I at first, connected with Jenna. We met at the Black British Book Festival, and it was really good. I really liked your spirit, your energy, and since we've been in contact, whenever we spoke, or it was on the phone, or the messages I get through, and even just here on the Black Book Show, I always like the energy that you come. It's always very uplifting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure. So I'm now going to go on to the next author who's here on the Black Book Show, who's going to speak. Well, she's the co-author. It's Sharina. She's got a chapter in the book, the anthology book titled Next Level You Breakthrough to Success Now. Her chapter is titled Awaken Your Initiative Genius. But I'm going to let her speak all about the chapter in the book. So Sharina, if you would like to come on, please start by telling us where you're based, giving us a brief introduction about who you are, and then tell us all about the chapter in the book that you've written, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Makonnen. My name is Sharina Gomes. I'm from Aruba, and I have written a chapter in the book, Next Level You, as Makonnen said, Breakthrough to Success Now. And the title of my book is Awaken Your Intuitive Genius. And it's actually, I'm an artist and also social worker. And I have been a social worker for over 25 years. And my journey was very much that of human development, because I was very interested in that. And that's why I became a social worker. And also I discovered that I could draw as a child. And I was a very shy child, and art for me was such a breakthrough, such a way to learn to express myself. And so I would just like to share that with the world. And I wrote about it in my chapter. And because oftentimes people see art as just something nice on the wall or an object, but it's so much more. And it has been a part of my own development through life. And through art, I got more in touch with myself and my emotions. And the book is really about the chapter is about how to unlock your potential through art. And so I developed mindful art, which is a structure that of exercises, so basic skills I teach about abstract art, and colors, patterns, lines, and how to use all of that to make an artwork. And in doing that, I also help people reflect on the process. So how they, the choices that they make. And that says a lot about yourself. It says a lot about, for instance, different teams. One is, how are you able to let go of certain situations, emotions? And it's all in a very fun way, and a very calming also. And so that is, the book tells about my own journey, and it also gives a few examples of how you can do exercises, some mindful art exercises. And really, it's at the end of my talk, I will read a few sentences out of the book, just to give you an impression. But my own journey has come from feeling disconnected, because as a child, I was born in Aruba, But at a young age, I moved to Holland, and it's a whole different world, whole different culture. And so I felt a bit lost. And I went into a world of imagination, of my own imagination. And my father stayed in Aruba, and I had no contact with him. So that has influenced me very much. It also influenced my ability to have relationship and the type of relationships that I looked for. Very much absent partners. And I learned all of that through practicing art and reflecting, because mindful art is very much about, on one hand, being able to express yourself and what you feel inside, to let that come out on canvas or paper or whatever medium you use or feel comfortable with. And so being able to let that come out without rationalizing it at the moment that it's coming out. And at the moment that it's there on the canvas, in my case, my art tells me a story. So I reflect on that, and I learn things about myself through watching at my art. And I also teach people to do the same. So it's a journey, actually, of your life, of parts of your life that you would like to work on. And I coach people to do that through art. I grew up in a single, with a single mother. And for the years after I left Aruba, and those were very important years of my life. And for me, my mother is a very strong, independent woman. And that is what I took over. And for me, it was very difficult to show vulnerability. And I realized that through practicing art. And at a given moment, I was able to make the choice to show my emotions. And that was such a gift. And to me, art is such an eye-opener. And the book focuses on getting in touch with your emotions and also your intuition, and being aware of your subconscious. So bringing that out through art and becoming aware of it, analyzing what you have painted, and also learning from that, seeing patterns in your own choices, behavior, and patterns that doesn't suit you. You have the choice to change that. So abstract art to me is a way of freedom without any limitations, because you don't have to recreate anything. It's just letting your authentic self come out. And actually, art has a lot of scientific benefits. It's proven to reduce stress and also enhance emotional intelligence, because you reflect and you become more aware of your own emotions, and you also learn to have empathy for other people. So to me, art is something very significant in life, and that is what I want to share with others, and that's why I wrote the chapter on that topic. It is my intention to eventually write a whole book on the subject. I would like to read a little piece. And it is an exercise, a mindful art exercise that I use in the coaching. Another effective mindful art exercise helps you connect to another person. You can do this with two people, or you can do it by yourself. Take a pencil or a pen and paper and sit close to and opposite the other person. Take turns in drawing a portrait of each other. Take a few seconds to look at the other person's eyes, features, and facial expression before you start. Each person draws 1 to 2 minutes. Once you start drawing, there is only one rule. You are not allowed to look down at your paper until your drawing is done. When your partner has had their turn, reflect together on this exercise. How was it to take a moment to really focus on the other person and to see them? How was it to be in the moment and express freely without judgment of your artwork? So this is one mindful art exercise in which you really are in the moment. You take time to be in the moment and really connect with yourself and also connect with other people. And in a sense, in this exercise, you also become aware of your own self-judgments, for example. You're drawing, you cannot see what you're drawing, that's the assignment. And some people find that very difficult to do because sometimes we want to have control over what we do, or we judge ourselves if it doesn't look like the other person. But it's not about the outcome, it's about the process. And that's a very important part of mindful art. I would like to read just another small piece about the moment that I had made an artwork and that I realized what the title was and what it said about my life and myself. Through mindful art, you will connect to emotions you were likely not expecting. Be prepared, but also celebrate that breakthrough. My mother is very independent and raised me to hide my vulnerability. What I learned from my mother is to not show weakness. I didn't reveal if I didn't know an answer to a question. I didn't show fear if I felt in danger. At first, I didn't see this as an issue to work on at all. It felt like a strength. I have a piece I drew and had no idea what it was until it was done. As I stood back and reflected on it, I realized what it was. It hit me like a sudden wind on my face. I called it Rebirth of a Woman. It was a painting about my relationship with my mother, and in my turn, my relationships with my children and how our connections affect each other. I found such strength with my vulnerability in that piece, and I have grown because of that realization. Art is your intuition having a conversation with you. So that is a chapter that I have written, and I will put the link in the chat. My email that you can contact me is soul to soul, so the number 2, soul2soul.art.coaching@gmail.com. And by phone, you can reach me at 00297 749 1217. Thank you very much, Makonnen, for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. What I want you to do is just for the people that are listening on the Black Culture Radio on Facebook, if you could just repeat your contact details just one more time in case they wasn't able to catch up with it.
Yes. So my email address, and when I say 2, it's the number 2. That is soul2soul.art.coaching@gmail.com. And my phone number, that is 00297 749 1217. And I will put the link to the chapter in the chat.
Okay, and just mention again, just say the chapter and then the title of the book and where that's available from.
Yes. So this is the book. It's called Next Level You, Breakthrough to Success. And my chapter is Awaken Your Intuitive Genius. And it's available via a link from Issuu. And I will put that in the chat. And at this moment, it's a free link.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sharina. Yes, please put the link to that book and put your contact details in the chat. I know Glenna, the previous author, she's also put her details in the chat in case people from the audience were interested about the details of her book or contact details. I'm now going to go ahead and introduce the next author. The next author is Maggie. She's author of the book called Belonging: My Journey to Love and Acceptance. So Maggie, if you would like to just please come on, welcome to the Black Book Show virtual book tour for the first time. Yeah, please come on, tell us, a brief introduction, very briefly about yourself, where you're based, and then tell us all about the book that you've written. Or you just need to unmute yourself because you're unmuted.
I'm unmuted now.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you clearly now.
Okay, but I can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
No, not very well.
Okay, that might be some of your audio, but if you go ahead because we can listen, we can hear you. So just continue, yeah.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Maggie Kuiper Milne, and I'm in South London in Nunhead. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you about my book, which is called Belonging: My Journey to Love and Acceptance. I don't know whether you can see that. So I wrote this book over lockdown, and writing my book, my story, is something that I had always wanted to do. And I was very lucky at lockdown to find a coach who helped me who supported me in writing my book. What's next? My story is, the book addresses the universal issue of the journey that African parents took into the diaspora and the generational repercussions that resulted from family fracture. This is my story. I come from Malawi. My parents came to the UK in the early 60s, and they left me and my 2 brothers in Malawi with our grandparents. And as a result, we didn't see our parents for 6 years. In that 6 years, the bond between my mother and I was no longer there. And I was left feeling very angry. Also, from the fact that it was never dealt with. So I kept all this anger in for over 50 years. And that's when I decided that I needed to address my anger, because I didn't want my mum to die knowing that I was still angry with her for something that had happened over 50 years ago, it didn't make much sense. So that was the first reason for me to write my story. And the second is that I wanted to address the question of belonging, of about where I belong, being brought up, being born in Malawi and spending over 50 years of my life in England. There was a real struggle of, you know, where do I belong? You know, where do I come from? Where am I going? Who decides where I belong? So I had all these questions going round in my head. And the third reason is that I believe that as second generation immigrants, I think it's time for us to tell our stories. There's been a lot about the Windrush generation, but we are children of the Windrush. And I believe that we have stories that are important, and we need to find our voices so that we can tell our story. So I'm going to begin by telling you a poem that I wrote in 2019, which is called Malawi. I am Malawi, beautiful, diverse, and vibrant. I am complicated, steeped in culture, deeply rooted like that mango tree. Discontent, dishonor, suffocation. I am fighting for freedom to release my soul. What about me? What about my dreams? But England, you have shaped me. At times, abused me, cared for me like an adopted mother, protected me like a loving father. How could I turn my back on you? Why would I try? I love all of me. I love all of me. I love all of me. I am peace. So, secondly, I'd like to read you the preface from my book. My parents did not raise us up going to church. And this, for me, was my saving grace, because I was able to choose my own religion when I was ready. For a little girl being raised away from her culture, I was searching for somewhere to belong. I wanted to know who I was, where I came from, why I was here, and why I had been displaced. There had to be a reason. I wanted to know what love was. I just knew that there was something missing in my life, and I didn't know what it was. I felt very disconnected. Finding out why I chose my parents was the starting point for beginning the journey in understanding who I am. Consequently, I wanted to share my spiritual journey with others by writing this book. I wanted to teach others that it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, you have the ability to change your life to be more meaningful and satisfying. The answers are all within us, but we have to be prepared to do the work that will change the course of our lives. For me, letting go of the old pain has been the most challenging thing on this journey. It was uncomfortable and unfamiliar. Writing a book about my life was a dream I never believed would come true, because I thought that only happens in books and in the movies. In order to move forward, I had to stop taking the victim stance and stop blaming others for the bad things that had happened to me. In writing about my life, I set out to teach what I had always wanted to learn. I am aware that it takes a great deal of courage to do what I have achieved by writing this book. I did not fit in anywhere, but kept searching. When I desperately asked Juliet, my first mentor, what book I should read to find the answer, she replied, "It is not written in any book. It is not written anywhere, but it is within us. We already have the knowledge we seek. We can tap into it whenever we want, and that is the most courageous path that any of us can take. And it is a choice. I just wanted you to know that wherever you are on your journey, do not give up. You will get there. For me, taking this journey has shown me that I am not displaced. Everything that happened in my life happened for a reason. The reason was for me to find my way home. And because I have found my way home, I am no longer heartbroken." And now I would like to read you the first chapter of the book, which is called Anger. The quote at the beginning goes, "Life is about risking everything for a dream no one can see but you." I first wanted to write about my anger as a way of understanding it. I have been angry about my mum and my childhood for over 50 years. I still harbor a lot of that anger. I just felt that enough is enough. I didn't want her to die while I was still angry with her for something that had happened more than 50 years ago. It didn't make any sense. In theory, I could understand about letting go of my anger towards her. I could understand about forgiveness and that everything that happened between us happened for a reason, that we had made a soul contract to support each other with the lessons we wanted to learn this lifetime. I understood on a spiritual level that I had asked her to teach me these lessons so I could fulfill my life purpose, and I was helping her to fulfill hers. I knew all this stuff by heart and backwards. I had read the books and spent many years in therapy sessions. I had been to hundreds of workshops, talks, and seminars about loving myself, letting go of my anger, healing my life through forgiveness and gratitude. So why was I still allowing the anger to seep through like an old lost friend that I yearned for? I would look at my pile of books, and there were many, and wonder if all the reading had been in vain. Shall I just pack them all up and take them to the charity shop and chase some other, more realistic dream? I wondered. And then lastly, on my journey to love and acceptance, I have had many mentors, and I write about 3 of them in my book. And I want to read about how I met my second mentor, Ranjani. And just to say that all 3 of my mentors have been Buddhists. So, and the quote that starts the chapter is, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And that's by Tao Te Ching. 2 weeks after I stopped working with Juliet, I bumped into Ranjani, who had been born into a Buddhist family in Sri Lanka. During those 2 weeks since leaving Juliet, I had worried about how I was going to cope alone. Due to stress, I had taken some time out of my midwifery course. To pass the time, I decided to volunteer for Home Start, a local charity that supports families that are struggling. It was the first day of training, but I had also booked to go to see the ballet Swan Lake in Covent Garden with Southwark Circle, an over 50s group that I belonged to. I managed to excuse myself from the training at the lunch break and cycled all the way to Covent Garden from East Dulwich. I don't think I had ever cycled so fast, but I arrived in time for the 2 p.m. start. I collected my tickets from one of the group representatives and then went upstairs to the circle to find my seat and my group. I found my seat, but none of my group were anywhere to be seen. I turned to a little Asian woman sitting next to me and asked her if she was with Southwark Circle. No, she replied, I am with Chelsea. It seemed she had also been separated from her group. Anyway, we got into conversation and soon started talking about meditation, as I was attending a 12-week meditation course to relieve my stress. Then, out of the blue, she said to me, your guides sent you here today so we could meet. My guides are always setting up meetings like this for me. I am going to be helping you on the next part of your journey. It would be an understatement to say that I was shocked. This is the moment in the story of my life when I should have excused myself, gone to the ladies, and jumped out of the window. But I didn't. I merely sat where I was, taking it all in, totally numb. Just as well, the ballet started and we couldn't talk anymore. All sorts of thoughts were swirling around in my head. I knew on one level that she was right. You read about these sorts of things happening in books or in films, but you never expect them to happen to you. I was watching the ballet, but my mind was somewhere else. So that's my book. Those are the 4 extracts that I had prepared for you. And now I'm moving along with my book. A lot of the time I've been selling it at Surrey Quays Shopping Centre. The last Saturday of the month, you will see me there. And so that's been for the last 2 years. And it's been great fun meeting people. And also I have been able to see that my target market are, Black women like me, who have the common story of being abandoned back home and then being sent over, and all the emotions that go with that, emotions of displacement, loss, trauma, and forgiveness.
Okay, Maggie, can you just take a minute to wrap it up, please?
Okay, thank you. And so by writing this book, I have stumbled on my life purpose, which is to help people who are also searching for their life purpose. And that's all. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Maggie. I've put the link to your book, Belonging, My Journey to Love and Acceptance, in the Zoom chat in case people want to purchase a book. Is the best place to get it on Amazon, I presume, or is it website? What's the best place to get the book?
Yes, it's on Amazon, and it's also on my website. My website is www.livingyourlifepurpose.co.uk.
Okay, just repeat that one more time for the people on Facebook and the people listening.
www.livingyourlifepurpose.co.uk.
Okay, great. And the book again is Belonging, My Journey to Love and Acceptance.
Yes,
Yeah.
Belonging, my journey to love and acceptance.
Thank you very much, Maggie, for sharing, your journey. And I really enjoyed the conversation that we had, a couple of weeks ago, a few weeks ago. And it's always interesting speaking to you because my dad is from Malawi, and yeah, because in England, there's not a lot. You normally hear a lot of people from Nigeria or Ghana or particularly West African countries, but I don't come across often, a lot of Malawians. So it's always, interesting when I have the conversation with you, and obviously because I wasn't raised with him as well, to kind of get a bit more insight into Malawi and things. So yeah, I appreciated it. So thank you very much for joining us on the Black Book Show.
Yeah, and thank you for having me.
Always been a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and I think everyone thoroughly enjoyed that. I really like the parts of the book that you read as well. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna just share my screen. So just bear with me a moment. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my screen now. What I'm gonna do, this is Maggie's book, Belonging, because I know she did try to show it, but in case the camera it didn't catch the full picture of the book. So I'm just gonna show the book. This is the book cover here, Belonging by Maggie. So what I'm going to be doing now is there was an author who was due to speak, but he's unable to make it to the Black Book Show, unfortunately. But he's left a message for us. So I'm going to play that message that he's left now. It's William Henry, and William Henry, he is the author of the book, which is called Betwixt Two Shores. So I'm going to play the clip from William Henry just now. So what I would just ask everyone to do is, if you could please, because the audio is a little bit low on it, if you could please turn the volume of your laptop or your mobile phone, just turn it to the highest it can be. And I'm going to turn the volume on my computer to the highest it can be as well, just so we can pick up the audio as best as possible. Okay, just bear with me one moment. And this is the picture of William with his book, Betwixt Two Shores. I'm just going to play the audio now.
Greetings, esteemed authors. Sadly, I can't be part of this group session today on Sunday, and I'm currently hospitalized. I'm Antiguan born and raised. My maternal grandmother raised me from 7 months old, as my parents answered a call to come to the so-called motherland to assist with the rebuilding of the country following the destruction of the Second World War. At age 10, I traveled from Antigua as an unaccompanied minor to meet my parents, whom I've never knew, whom I had never met, never heard their voices, never received a birthday card, no letter, or a telephone call. I left the shores of Antigua with a heavy heart. Coming to London had never been for me. London is a place where I live, but it's not my home. Over the years, I have worked in social services and further education colleges. I hold a master's in adult education and taught for 28 years. 18 years was spent teaching English and other humanities subjects at the top further education college, which received 2 awards from the late Queen for excellence in education. I was in employment. I was in employment at the college during those two awards. Before writing my memoir, I needed to research the function of the British Empire, colonialization, slavery, and Windrush. What has emerged from the research into those historical events? Three things that came out for me was separation, isolation, and traumas. These factors continued to plague the Black community, often because our voices were not heard. As a descendant of the Windrush generation, I decided to tell my story rather than it being told for me. Therefore, I decided to tell my story based on my upbringing in Antigua and contrast it with living in the UK. The rationale for writing the book is to act as a catalyst to influence silent voices to speak about their traumas. It is an excellent resource for those seeking to broaden their perspectives and deepen their understanding of the diverse voices that exist within the Black community.
Okay, so that was William Henry's book. I'm actually just going to get back up the so you can see the book cover and the link to where it's purchased. So I'm just going to share my screen. So William Henry's book is available on Amazon. The book is called Betwixt Two Shores. I'm just going to read the summary because I know the audio was a little bit low. So Betwixt Two Shores is a thought-provoking book by William Henry, who shares his perspective as a descendant of the Windrush generation. While much information is available about Windrush, much of it is positive. However, the reality is that many members of the Windrush generation experience significant challenges. The Windrush ship has a complex history entwined with human suffering. It was originally a troop carrier owned by the Germans during World War II. It was captured by the British, who renamed it Windrush. This book will enlighten everyone about the substantial history behind Windrush, especially descendants who are unaware of the positive impact that Windrush has had on the development of the UK in ways that could never imagine. So again, the author of that book is William Henry. It's called Betwixt the Shores. That's spelled Betwixt, 2 as in the number 2, and then Shores. That book is available to be purchased on Amazon. Now, before we go any further on the Black Book Show, what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to share with you a very brief PowerPoint presentation. And you may have, if you're on the Black Book Show mailing list, you may have received some email from me regarding book translation services from Polyglot Translation Services. Or indeed, if you're not on my mailing list, I'm now going to raise awareness of this service. So as you can see, this is the Black Book Show logo here. And this is Polyglot Translation Services. The Black Book Show is in partnership with Polyglot Translation Services. You will all know, who the Black Book Show because you're on the Black Book Show virtual book tour. But Polyglot Translation Services, you may be wondering what they do. So they are a translation services company. They translate books in over 35 different languages, covering European languages such as English, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Russian, Polish, and other languages. They also provide local translations in a number of African languages, including Twi, Tree, Ga, Ewe, Yoruba, Igbo, Swahili, and others. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to partner with Polyglot Translation Services is, as I mentioned, as well as offering the European languages, they also offer languages in African languages, and a lot of the authors that come on the platform you know, are interested in getting, would be, some of them would be interested in having their books in, you know, in different African languages. So the main benefit of, you know, having your book translated is a wider readership. So whether it's African languages or indeed European languages, you're reaching a wider audience of people that wouldn't necessarily be able to read your book otherwise. So for example, let's say, you know, your book is in English, but you could have it translated in French, because there's a lot of, you know, audience in France or people, or it could be just a francophone country, not necessarily in France. It could be a country that, you know, French is a common spoken language, but it could, you know, enable you to get, you know, a wider or audience, or more sales, basically more sales, you know, because you've got a, you know, a bigger target market that you can, you know, that you can aim at, and you know, whatever language it's you decide to translate, whether it's the African languages, whether it's the Spanish languages, language you want to translate the book. And you know, you have different reasons why you may want to translate your book. It may not necessarily be sales motivated. It may just be you want to translate it in, you know, an indigenous African language, because, you know, you may want your, you know, your people, or your, you know, family members, or, you know, whoever, to just want, you know, to have that book in that indigenous African language, you know. So it's very much up to you. But the sales part of it is obviously the more languages that you have your book translated in, obviously the bigger, you know, reach you do have. What you find as well is with some people, they can actually sell better in books by having their books translated in other languages. You could become a bestseller in another language. So you could have a book written in English, but it could be a better seller in Spanish, or it could be a better seller in, you know, a different language. So do not limit yourself, you know, to just one language. Also, you know, the credibility of having your language translated as well, to say that, you know, you've got your book translated in one language, or indeed it could be multiple languages. You know, some people, they translate their books in several languages. Polyglot translation services, they've recently translated, they've done 5 book translation projects for the Black Book Show, in conjunction with the Black Book Show. And authors that they've translated books, such as this author, Aduni S. Foloye. She's in the UK, is a Nigerian author. Hello, if you're listening, greetings. If you're on the Zoom call. But she had a book translated by Polyglot Translation Services, and her feedback that she said was, my book, Fruits of the Spirit, has been well translated into 5 languages: French, Spanish, Yoruba, Italian, and German by Polyglot Translation Services, and is now available on Amazon. Another one that's had their book translated through the Black Book Show is Penny. Penny is from Namibia. I believe she's based now in the UK. Her feedback was, my book, We Need One Another, has been well translated into Swahili by Polyglot Translation Services. I received quick and excellent service from them. But don't just, you know, take my word for it. If you actually go and Google it for yourself, put in Polyglot Translation Services, it will come up, and you will see, the last time I checked, they had 36 reviews, 4.8 stars out of 5 stars, which is pretty good. So you can check, you know, they are a credible company, based in Ghana. When I was living in Ghana from last November to May this year, I met up with the, you know, founder of Polyglot Translation, Gyrons, and we're regularly in touch. So if you are, you know, thinking of getting a quote for your book translated, please do feel free to contact me. You can contact me by email. The email address is info@blackbookshows.com. That is info@blackbookshows.com. So just send me a email message, or alternatively, you can go on the website blackbookshows.com, and there's a section that says contact us, and you just fill in the contact us form, and then I will, following receipt of that email or that contact that you've given with me, I will put you in contact with a member of Polyglot Translation Services, who will be able to provide you with a quote for getting your book translated, and they can also answer any other questions you may have regarding the translation of your book. So I'm now going to go on to the next author that's scheduled to speak on the Black Book Show. The next author is Samantha White. I met Samantha in person at the Luton Books Festivals, hosted by Simply These Events, D Bailey. Shout out to D Bailey if you're on the call. But yes, Samantha, if you'd like to please come on to the Black Book Show, please, introduce yourself to the listeners, tell us where you're based, a little bit about your background, and then tell us all about the book that you've written, or the two books you've written.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samantha White. As McConan already introduced me, I was born in Jamaica. I came here at the age of 14 years old, and I can relate exactly to what some of the authors have stated about being migrated to a new country and a new culture where you didn't know where you belonged. And for a very long time, I felt displaced. And while I was trying to find myself, I wrote, well, actually, at the age of 16, my mom was incarcerated. And I was immediately left homeless. And during that time, I had to figure out how to navigate immigration issues, people who claim that they would look after you, but ultimately they're trying to use you for whatever reason. And so I spent over 18 years simply trying to survive, sorting out my immigration issues and just trying to find where I fit. And when lockdown came, I had a lot of built up anger, a resentment towards my parents because my mom had me at 16. And I grew up with my grandma, my maternal grandma. And I met my mother when I was 7 years old. And so I never really had a maternal relationship with my mom. My grandma was my mom. And so when lockdown came, I could not avoid my emotions. I couldn't keep what I had been buried for over 18 years. And so I went through therapy, and again, I was ready to tell my story because a lot of migrants in this country, they don't really tell their stories. It's like there's a shame. There's a shame attached to it. And I was not ashamed of my heritage. I knew who I was, and I liked being Jamaican. That's who I was. I didn't really see myself as British. I mean, you can tell by my accent. And so that prevented me from walking fully into my purpose. And so I wrote How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut. And I wrote this in lockdown. This was very therapeutic for me because all the emotions and my history that I had gone through were literally being revealed after I had therapy. And then the other one I wrote, if you can see it, is Hope Remains, The Audacity of Faith. And both of them together span the 18 years, or a little bit over 18 years that I've been in this country. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but I'm just going to continue to speak because I can't really see anyone. So, what's Pandora's Box Shut about? Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
You may see the logo in the background, which is the Black Book Show,
yeah,
but we can still see you fine. Yeah, we can see you fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, what is Pandora's Box about? Pandora's Box, after doing my therapy session, I realized there were recurring generational curses that ran rampant through my bloodline. And I also realized during that time that generational curses, they're called generational curses because they exist through generations. So the same thing happened to my grandmother's generation, the same thing happened to my mother's generation, and it happened in my generation. And I decided that I was going to break it. So that's the reason why I said How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut. For those of you who know the theology behind Pandora's Box, it's about, how Pandora's box curiosity drove her to open the box, and it released a lot of curses. Well, for me, the curses were already released, and I wanted it to stop with me, because what I have learned through my many readings is that if you don't break those generational curses, when you have the opportunity to do so, they will continue in your children's lives. And I wanted to break it. So one of the most prominent one in my family was all the women in my family had children out of wedlock. and all of the women in my family had children when they were teenagers. So that was the most prominent one. And I didn't want that to continue with myself. So I put my foot down and I decided that I did not want to be a teenage mother. The next one was graduating from secondary school and going to higher education. Those things were important to me. And I felt that it was my duty to do so. And even years later, my cousin that follows me said that she literally followed everything that I did. So my decision to go into higher education, my decision to not be a teen mom, she followed that and even took it to a greater level when she got married in 2019. So that's the next thing on my list. But yes, so when you come face to face with generational curses, it's your duty. I implore on you to break it, because if you don't break it, it will continue in your bloodline. Okay, so my mother was incarcerated when I was 16 years old, 3 days before I was to start my A-levels. And she spent approximately 5 years in prison and she was deported. So she's been in Jamaica for almost 14 years now. Yeah, 14 years this year. So I've been on my own for 16 years. But I have had occasions where family friends, I've been sleeping on family's friends so far when I didn't have my documents. And so I was basically willing to do whatever I could in terms of flexibility. I worked in a hair salon, so I was willing to I started off by washing hair, sweeping. I did everything from being a cleaner, like, cleaning a hospital, for example, to do whatever I could to be able to finance my immigration status. And with my first book, How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut, the 7 life-shaking events that almost broke me. My chapters, what I did was for my chapters, I used all of the curses that were released when Pandora opened the box. So downfall, turmoil, famine, hostility, obsession, hatred, strife. Those were the seven curses that were released when Pandora opened the box. And I touched on examples in my life where those were prominent. And then in chapter 8, I talked about faith, and I talked about renewal and breakthrough. And then I closed off the first book with hope. So basically, yes, I was faced with all of those curses. And through my resilience and through my faith and my trust in God and my intention, I was going to push through, and I was going to be the difference for my family. And so with that, I was able to progress through all of the years while I was struggling. Now, Hope Remains, I wrote that this year, actually. And Hope Remains, again, it's kind of the second part of How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut, because for those who are quite avid readers, at the end of Pandora's box, when all the curses were released, the thing that was remained at the bottom of Pandora's box was hope. Hope was the thing that was being protected by all the curses. So you see, what that represented to me was, after all the struggles and all the fights, and all the challenges and all the setbacks, you have to keep hope alive, basically, through faith, through finding your purpose. And so that was the reason why I called my second book Hope Remains: The Audacity of Faith, because you sometimes, when you're going through your trials and you can't see a way out, you have to hold on to the faith that things will get better, and you can't quit while you're in the middle. You have to push through to the other side. And so after 16 years of me going through and getting 3 years and then another 3 years, and then even when I was at university, I almost had to quit university because my 3 years ran out. And every time I put one foot forward, I took 2 steps back, and I felt like, why was this happening to me? And so the book, as I said, that's the premise for the first book. The second book is about, okay, Hope Remains, the Audacity of Faith. I wrote this book because in 2008, 2017, while I was working in my second job, it was a dead-end job. It wasn't really going anywhere. I had a vision to go back to university to do my master's. And just after I decided to apply, I mean, people are going to come in your way and tell you that you can't do it. You know, you're not good enough, or you're not qualified enough, or, you know, for whatever reason, they don't think that you have what it takes to go to the best universities or whatever. Whether it's, you know, sometimes, a lot of the times, what I find when people say negative things about you, that's how they feel about themselves. So I didn't really let that stop me, and I applied to Warwick Business School, and I got in. And while I was there, my master's was supposed to take 1 year, but it took 2 years. 3 hours into me going in, packing up my things and moving to Coventry, the loan that I was depending on fell through. But I already made my mind up. Why? Because during convention in church a month earlier, a pastor looked at me and told me, God said to go to university. It will be okay. And I held on to, it will be okay, for the 2 years. And I'm telling you, my faith wavered. It wavered a lot, but I kept true and I held on to it. During that time, I had to take 5 jobs in order to pay for my tuition fee, because at that time I still wasn't a British citizen, so I couldn't get a loan. And I was determined to finish what I started. And I went there and I was able to, on my journey to university, I had indefinite leave to remain. And through pushing through and not giving up, I was able to become naturalized through just not willing to give up. So my second book, Hope Remains, The Audacity of Faith, it talks about, you're going to face challenges and you're going to face setbacks, and you have to be flexible. And the only thing that you can hold true to is your faith, because everything else is going to shatter. Even your faith sometimes will shatter. And so during the chapters, I start off with the layouts. I start off with the fall, and then I went from the fall to burnout, possibilities, a new chapter, perspective. All of the chapters in Hope Remains, Audacity of Faith, they're all challenging your view, whether it be a view on you're not good enough, because I struggled a lot with abandonment issues. I struggled a lot with abandonment issues because, as I started off saying, I was rejected by my mother when I was born, and through regression therapy, because I had to do even deeper therapy, I found out that my mom didn't reject me directly. She rejected my father, but due to the fact that I look like my dad, she couldn't bear looking at me. So I had to heal myself, because a part of my therapy during lockdown was to confront my parents and discuss how I felt, especially my father, because when my mom was in prison for almost 5 years, he never called me, not once. And so I had a lot of hatred towards him. And the hatred fueled me for a lot of years. But then when the hatred fuel burned out, I had nothing else to fuel me. And I felt like I hit a roadblock and I had to dig deep. The walls that I had built were suffocating me. And so I had to use therapy to break those walls down, because not only was I pushing, okay, my family away, but I was also pushing people away from me. And I needed to break that wall. So that's the reason why I did the therapy. So so for the Hope Remains book, the layouts, I said, what I did was I talked about pivotal moments in my life where my perception of myself, where other people's opinion of myself was challenged in financial, in mental, and emotional experiences. And at the end of every chapter, I did a reflection. I did a reflection on what I learned, what perspective was broken, and what belief was established. And so why did I write this book? I write this book to individuals who are born in this country, all over the world, but specifically migrants, and not just migrants, people who are second and third generations. Why? Because I feel like migrants and immigrants, they go through so much, and nobody tells their story. They look at it as it's something shameful, and I don't know why. Because at the end of the day, none of us exists in isolation. We're all from a culture, and I find my grandma always says, if you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going. Right? And another friend that I have, she's Nigerian, she always says to me, Samantha, you're here for a reason. Even if your mother didn't send for you when you were 14, you would have wound up being here. So yes, I sound different, and yes, I made friends and in the doors that I walk through, but I don't use that as insecurity anymore, and I don't use that as being inferior anymore. I look at it as my superpower. It's my opportunity to have different perspectives on ideas, on how you bring things together, how you collaborate in teams. I look at my differences as an advantage, and I want everyone else to look at their differences as an advantage. Nobody is superior to anybody. We all bring something to an idea. I always say, if a team is working together, we don't all want everyone to have the same perspective. So that's the reason why I wrote this book. And what can readers take away? Again, I have a reflection at the end of every chapter, and I am a born-again Christian, so I reflect in terms of what have I learned, and where in the Bible other disciples have gone through the same challenge. Okay, it's not the same time, but the challenges are the same. And I believe that the challenges that you go through in your life shape you and mold you into the person that you should be, into your true purpose. And I believe that if you keep running away from the challenge, or if fear keeps crippling you, embrace it and throw your whole self at it. Because when you do so and you come out, you can reflect on, okay, well, what are the new skills that I've gained? What are my strengths? What are the opportunities? And I'll be very honest with you. For 14 years, I did not speak. For 14 years, I didn't speak publicly. Why? Because I didn't like my accent. I was embarrassed in secondary school by my art teacher. She did it in front of my entire year, saying, oh, you need to slow down and you need to tone down. And I took that as a negative.
Okay, Samantha, can you just start to wrap things up now?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. And so, yes, it's to inspire. And so the purpose of both of my books is to motivate and inspire individuals through my real life experience. And that's the reason why I wrote it. You can find me, my books on Amazon, and my audio for the first book, How I Forced Pandora's Box, should be out within 2 weeks' time. It will be on Audible and some other audio platforms. You can also find me on Instagram at The Real Samantha White 1. And I'm currently working on my website at which is www.samanthannwhite.com. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you very much, Samantha White. What I want you to do is just say again the titles of your book, just for the people that are listening and the people on Facebook. Just repeat again, in case they didn't catch it, the titles of your 2 books, and then where they can be purchased from.
Okay, so the first book is How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut, 7 Life-Shaking Events That Almost Broke Me. The second book is Hope Remains, The Audacity of Faith. You can find both of them on Amazon. You can find both of them in paperback and ebook. I recently completed my audio recording for the first book, How I Forced Pandora's Box Shut, and it should be available on Audible and other audio platforms within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll be working on the second book.
That is Samantha White, and now please put your links in the Zoom chat for the people that are joining us via Zoom, that are here with us in the Zoom chat. But thank you for joining us on the Black Book Show. Right, I'm now going to go on to the next author. So the next author is Dr. Colleen Kilgore. She's author of the book called Miraculous Favor and the Power of Prayer. So Dr. Colleen Kilgore, if you would like to please unmute yourself, put your video on, and then please, introduce yourself, tell us where you're based, and then go on to tell us, all about the book that you've written, please.
Okay, thank you, Makoma. for having this forum that allow Black authors to showcase our literary voice and work in the presence of so many people in the diaspora. I'm so glad to be here and to hear all the different stories and listen to all the authors present their work. I'm joining you from South Carolina in the USA. My post name is Dr. Colleen Kay. I am a mother, a nurse practitioner, a retired professor, and a published author. My first published book was entitled Menopause, Rurality, and Obesity in Rural African American Women. This was compiled from data based on my dissertation that looked at social and behavioral practices that impact the health of African American women and their health outcomes. In this book, Miraculous Favor and the Power of Prayer, here, don't know if you can see that, okay. I was led by the Holy Spirit to relate some of my travel and experiences and the experiences shared by people I had known to build upon the characters in the book. This book is also available on Amazon and Kindle and at .com booksellers everywhere. In the process of writing this book, it has taken me 9 long years because of privacy concerns, my duty as a mother of 4, and my teaching and nursing responsibility. However, encouragement to complete the book came from my family and friends who reported that the story, although unusual, included challenges that they too had experienced that should be shared. It is my hope that this book will bring to those who have lost their hope, are struggling to find themselves, or trying to make a better life for themselves and their family, and for those who seek a sense of peace in this fast-changing and often disappointing world. In the book, Marcella, the protagonist, recounts her experiences with poverty, isolation, infidelity, depression, loss, racism, homelessness, and dealing with a dysfunctional family relationship. And also touches on her travels that expanded her view of the world and humanity. She describes how she was able to work through and overcome many of her challenges because of her strong faith, relationship with Almighty God through Christ Jesus, and prayer. Marcella's story, presented here in Book 1, is the first part of her life journey. The book introduction starts with the notation, whom God chooses is not easily understood, because there are people who have been through unusual adversities or struggle that many don't believe they can overcome. But these people overcome and they are successful in life. I believe that Marcella's story will prove to many of the naysayers, it will prove them wrong. I tried to relate the protagonist's faith, constant prayer, first in time of trials and need, seeking answer and being disappointed when her prayers weren't answered. These moved to prayers of praise or thanksgiving whenever she was triumphant or she received the blessing, and illustrates the growth in her relationship with God, led by the tiny voice and that internal nudge or gut feeling that she later believed was the Holy Spirit, even when she was unaware or undeserving of it. The point here is to believe that anything is possible and can be open, we can be open to miracles, and that God's word can give light and understanding in this world, where God's word is a lamp to my feet and a light unto my path. It is hoped that this remarkable and unusual journey of a girl born in poverty, which began in the islands of Jamaica and ended in Africa as the wife of an American diplomat, where she experienced living an unbelievable life, would provide some hope for someone's future. The book. In the book, Marcella, the protagonist, conveys her life story that started in the beautiful islands of Jamaica, where she grew up in the care of her grandmother, while her mother went to England along with many island people in the Windrush area to find work. Marcella spoke of having a father who was not involved during her early years. On the island, she had freedom to explore her surroundings, where she roamed the street as a carefree and barefoot child. She speaks of being poor but happy, not knowing any other life but one she grew up into. Like many people, world over who remain blissful or ignorant in their poverty. The book tells of Marcella's fractured relationship with her mother, her loving relationship with her stepfather, and she described the people who demonstrated to her loving familial relationship that was foreign to her. And those who had grown up, who had grown up in a dysfunctional family environment, she was in search of love and acceptance that resulted in her pregnancy at age 16. A later childhood marriage ended in divorce, and Marcella, now a single mom with 2 children, relates her struggles with childcare, working, attending school. Her goal here was to get the best education, attend college, get an excellent job so she could support her children and travel the world. Little did she know that she would achieve all these things by the grace of God. She later traveled to America, where she met her second husband and had 2 more children. She speaks of the challenges of living with relatives, losing her father, and the dysfunctional relationship with her mother. She speaks of starting over in America, of a renewed sense of loneliness, isolation, and loss. Missing her father, having no family support as she struggled to fit in, to belong, and to feel safe from psychological and spiritual harm. Marcella prayed daily, the 23rd and the 37th Psalm, for protection and a move to their own living place because they were living with relatives, which were the last thing she wanted. She struggled with issues of racism, segregation, and the challenges of assimilation of life in America. Feeling isolated, lost, lonely, and depressed were just a few of her challenges. In these situations, she described the importance of prayer that provides her inner strength, patience, forgiveness, and a better understanding of the environment. Her husband moved her to another country where she did not speak the language or know the culture. They undergo an emergency evacuation, and she returned to America with the children while he remained there. Excuse me. Later, later he returns and they're posted to Africa. Where she experienced an unimaginable life as the wife of a diplomat. I will now read a few passages from the book to give an inkling of its content. London. She arrived in England, where she meets her mother for the first time at age 10, and described her encounters at the airport. She described life in the country, far from the warmth of the island she had left and the people she loved. The book tells of her transition to the cold and often austere environment she encountered, covert racism. She encountered adapting to British society, her sense of deep loss, difficulty making friends. She speaks of the life she led as a young child while carefree in Jamaica, and the one she led while caring for her younger siblings and being labeled Cinderella by her peers. In England, Marcella completed her primary through secondary school, nursing and education, and experienced isolation, loneliness, racism, and bullying. At age 16, she's pregnant, but considered a virgin. She experienced further abandonment from the baby's father and was sent away to live in a home for an unwed mother, so her mother could avoid the shame of having a pregnant teenager. In America, Marcella leaves England to visit her grandmother, who was sick. Her grandmother had cared for her for the first 10 years of her life. She was now living in Connecticut. There she meets a cousin who made it possible for her to go to Florida to meet an aunt that she had never known, but more so to meet the man whom Barbara, that's her friend, thought Marcella's soulmate. In Florida, Marcella meets and falls heads over heels in love with Lionel, this man. And after short romance, they joined together, further losing sight of her blessing. And this comes about when Marcella is in America and she is working first as a nursing aide, then as a nurse, and then she gets the job caring for one patient instead of 10 patients in a day. And she had prayed for this, and it came about, and now she was living on Palm Beach, but staying on the island where the Trumps and all those folks are. She was caring for one patient. However, she soon became complacent. She began to complain about her circumstances, not realizing that she was being disobedient and disharmed her blessing by failing to acknowledge God's goodness in her life. After all, we're all instructed to do things without grumbling and disputing. Marcel began to forget her blessing, or the miracle just brought her from the streets of Jamaica through many challenges to where she was working. Marcella was often transferred, told not to report because her client preferred a nurse or of another ethnicity. What was not said was not black, or being addressed as the N-word while cleaning a client's backside, or told, nigger, I don't want you to touch me, as that client spat foul sputum in her face. Africa. In the chapter of Africa, Marcella uses the 5 senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch to describe her first impression of Africa. Sight. In the late 1980s, Marcella and her family were in Lagos, Nigeria. She can still recall her arrival at Murtala Muhammad International Airport, where the smell of the earth, the land, the people, and the food that assaulted her nostril were so unlike the air-conditioned sterility of the European airport. Her 5 senses awakened. Marcella was in awe. Although she was used to the various shades of brown and coffee people, she was not prepared to see men and women as black as night, with the most beautiful skin that glowed like satin, full lip, bright eyes, tightly curled natural hair amongst the few grains of white, or you say Caucasian, population at the airport. Sounds. Foreign to her ear were the sound coming from the crowd. People were speaking in many unfamiliar and different dialects. Marcella imagined that the sound was like that heard at Babel in Genesis 11:9, where in the Bible, the people were speaking one language, and the Lord confused their language so that different nations began to speak in different language. The exchange of words was often accompanied by gestures of their hands and facial movement that ranged from joy, disdain, unbelief, and rejection that were beautifully orchestrated. She witnessed this as a demonstration of a carefully orchestrated piece of music that was used to express displeasure with airport worker or express joy at reunited with family and friends. To comprehend that these people use of the hands and facial great gestures was familiar, as observed amongst her family in England, Jamaica, and America, made her come to the realization that certain traits and mannerism had restored the separation of a people from their culture. So much was different and yet the same. Life as a diplomat. Living in Africa was labor intensive. Example, water had to be boiled the previous day and cooled for use the following day to decrease the risk of many tropical infections in the water, such as cholera, getting dysentery, or typhoid. Shopping meant going to the local market daily to buy provision, and meat that was slaughtered in the open market where the smell of animal blood would rise in the air. In closing, in the process of writing this book, I learned patience, perseverance, and embracing solitude, because it is necessary to find time to be still, write without distraction, and describe the protagonist's experience. The many revisions before formatting and publishing the book was time-consuming, but worth the effort. In the end, I hope that this will illustrate that whom God chooses is not easily understood, and that miracles happened even when we're undeserving and unaware. But there's more in store. In book 2, she writes of abandonment, suicide, divorce, healing, and God's call on her life. The book is Miraculous Favor and the Power of Prayer. Thank you. I can be, it's on Amazon, Kindle, etc. And my email, I have uploaded that to McCone. You got that? Hello?
Okay, that's fine. So, should I put the email address in the Zoom chat?
Yes, you can do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for joining me, or joining us, I should say, on the Black Book Show, Dr. Colleen Kilgore. Please put the details of your book in the Zoom chat as well, please.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Well, thank you for wherever you are listening, not just Dr. Colleen, but I mean the audience attendees of the Black Book Show virtual book tour, whether you're in, United States, UK, Aruba, on the continent of Africa, the Caribbean. This is an international platform where we have, authors of African heritage from all over the world. I'm currently joining from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm now going to go on to the next author. The next author of the Black Book Show is an author. She's also a publisher, and she's also one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show. It's Dr. Tamara Foley. She is a regular on the Black Book Show. And she is, I mentioned before, she's one of the sponsors. Her company, Education for All Now, is the sponsor of the Black Book Show. She also has Garwell Publishing, which helps authors to publish their books. And she is the author of the series of books called Cassie's Big Change. So Tamara Foley, please, welcome you again onto the Black Book Show. If you'd just like to come on, for those who don't know, much about you, just tell us where you're based, a brief introduction about yourself, and then tell us, I'm not sure how you want to do it, whether you want to concentrate on more your publishing or your books on this particular show, but I'll leave it up to you to decide.
Hello, everyone. I am greeting you from the United States in the Midwest, the north west suburbs of Chicago, and I am so happy to be here. I also am so happy, McConan, that you kept this platform going, and I'm learning every time I'm here so much about all the various books that are out there, and really the lives of people that we just had no clue things that were happening. So just so happy to be here, and also happy to be one of the sponsors of the show. So today I'm going to talk just a little bit about the publishing side. And so we help people publish books. Just recently, I published a book, and I don't have a copy of it yet. It's on its way, called It's Tragic by Calvin Sado. And Calvin is a 7-year-old young man who had a tragic loss in his life. He lost his father tragically at age 5. And so through his healing, his grandmother encouraged him to write a book. And the book is a keepsake book. It is a journal where children can actually work through their healing process in the book. So I want to encourage you, and I'll put his link down in the chat later, but just encourage you to support this young author who really just is telling his honest story. As I worked with him and worked with his family, it was just amazing, because he was very sure about what he wanted in his book. And so I'm just so proud of him. I'm proud that it finally hit Amazon and you can order it there. So we also have a promotion going, and the promotion for January, February, and March is $100 off of any package. So we have several book packages that you'll see at garwellpublishing.com. And so whether you're a current client or a new client, if you start your publishing journey with us January, February, or March, and the last day of March will end this promotion. Also, if you know someone and you refer someone who publishes a book with us, and we support, and they buy a package, then you will receive $100 as a referral fee when they have completed their publishing project. So those are just two big promotions that we have going right now. And we encourage you to get in contact with us. You can complete the contact form on the website, and we're more than happy to work with you. Please note that you always keep all of your rights. Our names will not be on any part of your book. Will be doing it as a self-publisher, but just as someone that may need some support. And I can definitely talk about that, because when I was publishing my first book, and my first book is Cassie's Big Change, How COVID-19 Changed the Way We Learned, I knew nothing about publishing. I knew nothing about publishing a book, but all I knew is that I wanted to write this book because of what I was seeing with children and families during the pandemic, and how children were really struggling. And especially how our students who were unhoused, or how our students who were in abusive homes were struggling through this. And also how our students with disabilities who may not have been getting services. So I wanted to write this book, but I knew nothing about it. So I also needed to get someone to help me, to take me through the process, to show me. And so that's what we do at Garwell Publishing. So we're so happy to be able to do that and work alongside people. So what we've published lately, I want to just share with you. It's a book called Healing Trauma, and it's Affirmation Journal for Teens and Tweens. What do we know about our teenagers and our middle school children? What we know is that they're still having some mental health issues. They had mental health issues prior to the pandemic, and they're still having those issues. They're still going through violence. They're still accidents. They're still going through emotional abuse. And I know that addressing those, so however they choose to go through healing, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through taking a affirmation journal and looking at it every day and working through this. And I think there are many different types of ways that people heal. And this is just one that we want to offer our teens and tweens. And it's a resource to help them process and to cope with their experiences. And there are different affirmations there's not a day. They can pick whatever affirmation, what day, and they can write about it. And then there is the page where they can actually draw, doodle, or however they wish to express their creativity. We also have as a book for adults, because again, we know adults are having some of the same issues. So this is just, this journal is just a safe space for adults to write their emotions, their thoughts, their challenges, their reactions, tracking their healing, and then gaining insight for their trauma, into their trauma as a process of healing. So this journal, again, is another tool to document your growth, perceptions, and healing. So we've really started a new journey in 2023 in our writing area. So you will see in 2024, we'll be adding to this collection. We'll be adding 5 additional books in 2024 to the Cassie's Big Change series. And so we look forward to working with you. If you are looking to publish a book, or maybe you've already a published author and you just need some assistance along the way, that's what we're here for. So thank you so much for your time. Congratulations to all those who are out there publishing, talking about your book, talking about your journey and sharing, because each of us learns something when you share, and when you share your story, that we can also help and support others. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Dr. Tamra Foley, one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show. Thank you for your sponsorship and your support of the Black Book Show. I'm now going to move on to a next author on the Black Book Show this episode, and we've got Dion Josiah. I recently interviewed Dion for the Black Books, the radio show and podcast. So listen to that. That's going to be coming out very, very soon. But you can now hear her herself, speak. She will be delivering a speech about her book now. So I would just like to welcome you onto the Black Book Show virtual book tour. And please start by just introducing yourself, telling us where you're based, and then go on to tell us all about the book you've written, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Dion Josiah. I'm from Islington, North London, and I've written a children's book, excuse me, called How Do You Get a Baby? If you can see it. It's a chapter book, and it's just about my character, Canary Ryland, who goes on a journey to find out where babies come from. I've started this book about 12 years ago. And I just had like a sentence in my head, and from then I just wrote it down, and then over time it's kind of manifested into this book. So what I'm going to do, just before I tell you that, so my book is actually dyslexic friendly, and some of my characters have a few special needs and are neurodivergent, and I wanted to make sure that I represent as many children as I possibly can within my book. So I have my main character, and she also has 8 best friends who have different abilities. But for now, I'm going to excuse me. I'm going to show you a promo video. I'm just going to share my screen, which will explain my book in full. Hi, my name is Dion Antoinette Josiah. I am a 34-year-old author from Islington, North London. I have written a series of books called The Adventures of Canary Ryland for children ages 5 to 8 years old. The first book in the series is called How Do You Get a Baby? Canary Ryland is a 6-year-old girl who goes on a journey to find out where babies come from. She questions all of her friends, which all in turn give her an amusing answer. Canary and her friends then descend into a magical upside-down world called Destonia, where they continue to look for the answers to the questions. Whilst in Destonia, they meet the royal twins, Princess Ophelia and Prince Seth, the royal advisor Buddy B, and the people of Destonia. Oh, and I can't forget the scary and smelly Snugglepuss, to where they ask her where she thinks babies come from. I've also left a space where children and parents can explore the questions for themselves. This wonderfully illustrated book has a huge gatefold, is interactive, and allows children to use their imagination. Lots of thought has gone into ensuring this book is also dyslexic friendly. The book even comes with its own Estonian language guide. There are 64 pages in the book with 6 chapters throughout. Each book will be retailed at $8.99. I would love to have my book in your store. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Goodbye. So yeah, so that kind of like explains my book in detail more. Within my book, actually, it opens out. So if you ever get to buy a book, just remember that it opens out, into a kind of like a gatefold that's just opened out of my book. Yeah, so that's basically my book in a nutshell. It's also, like I mentioned before, it's also it's a series. So I've written 28 books in total. And within the new year, I'll be illustrating and publishing the next books 2 and 3, which will be coming out soon. So look forward to that. I also have my own book club on YouTube that I've started a few months ago. And it's called the Dion Josiah Book Club, where I've read this book and also read other children's books as well, so you can check that out. And yeah, and that's just me in a nutshell. Thank you so much for having me on. You can purchase my book at my website, which is canaryryland.com, and if you want to send me an email, it'll just be hello@canaryryland.com. Thank you.
Okay, can you just repeat the website email just in case, you know, people, it was a bit too fast when they didn't take it in.
Sorry, yeah, I speak fast, sorry. So it's canaryryland.com. Canary like the bird canary, and Ryland with, so it's RYLAND, so it was all word, canaryryland.com. And the email is hello@canaryryland.com. So you can send me an email and say hello, and if you want to purchase the book. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you are interested in hearing more in depth, I did recently interview Dion about her book, How Do You Get a Baby? So that will be coming out on the Black Books radio show and podcast very, very soon, which is a bit more of an in-depth interview. So the best place to keep up to date is the Facebook group. If you go to Facebook and put the Black Book Shows Facebook group, where you can find out all the latest information about the virtual book tours, the radio shows, the podcast. Yeah, it's the best place to be kept up to date. If you are an author and you're interested in featuring on the Black Book Show, whether it's the virtual book tour, the radio show, or the podcast, or if you know an author that maybe you want to recommend, please get in touch with me. The email address is info@blackbookshows.com. That's info@blackbookshows.com. Alternatively, you can contact me on WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is +447943178117. That is +447943178117. You can also get at me via the Black Book Shows website, which if you go on blackbookshows.com, that is blackbookshows.com, it will come up this web page here, and there's a section where you can select contact us. On the menu, select contact us, and then fill in your name, your email address, and leave a message, and then just submit form. Alternatively, I mean, you can also contact us, as I mentioned, about the book translation services. If you're interested in getting your book translated, or you're interested in sponsoring the show, like Dr. Tamara Foley, Barty Durr, Jimmy Asher Foundation, Nubian Gifts Books, you know, etc. If you're in sponsoring the show, you can also, you know, contact me via the website or my email, or via WhatsApp. Now, the Black Book Show's website, I'm just going to show you a little bit around the website. So if you're interested in watching previous virtual book tour videos, there's a virtual book tour video section, which has previous editions of the virtual book tours. I just do need to update it to some of the latest shows, but the latest shows are on our partner company, which is Pete English Literature. They are on his YouTube channel. All the latest shows up to the last show we did, which is November, and this show, December, will also be uploaded onto Pete English Literature YouTube channel as well. If you're interested in listening to previous editions of the Black Book Show radio show and podcast, you can also scroll to the podcast interviews section. And there's various authors, some of them that are featured on the virtual book tour, some of them that I've mentioned that are going to be on the Black Books radio show and podcast later. If you scroll to the bottom, it will take you to Spotify. The podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Google Podcasts, where you can listen to. That's where I interview the authors talking about their book a little bit more in depth. That is the Black Books Show podcast. And the radio shows, we are on Luton Urban Radio every other Monday between 8 and 10 p.m. That's UK time, and Galaxy Afiri Galaxy Radio every other Saturday between 6 and 8 p.m. UK time, where I interview a variety of authors talking about their books. My next show is actually on Luton Urban Radio tomorrow. It will be on New Year's Day, the 1st of January. I'm looking forward to the show with 8 to 10 p.m. tomorrow. Here's a flyer. So if you listen on lurlive.com, I will be doing a 2-hour Black Book show tomorrow, where I'm going to dedicate it on my latest book, Experiences of Living Across Africa. Now, back to the Black Book Show this episode. The next author to come onto the show is going to be Trenton Bailey. Trenton Bailey, I recently interviewed him, Trenton, for the Black Book Show virtual book tour, no, the Black Book Show radio show and podcast. He's now featuring on the virtual book tour. So Trenton, his book is all about the music group Earth, Wind and Fire. So Trenton, if you'd like to come on and, you know, tell us all about the book you've written, please.
Good afternoon and good evening. I'm Dr. Trenton Bailey. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now, but I'm originally from Memphis, Tennessee, in America, of course. I am a graduate of Morehouse College, the greatest school on the planet, and I received my master's and doctoral degree from Clark Atlanta University in the AUC, Atlanta University Center. Like he said, my book is about Earth, Wind, and Fire. I wrote my doctoral thesis about Earth, Wind, and Fire. I focus on the ancient Egyptian themes in their lyrics and visual art from 1973 to 1983 because that was their classic period. So I wanted to turn my dissertation into a book. The publisher asked me if I could expand those years and do the full history. So I went back and did some more research from 1970 to 2020. And since I'm writing about music and visual art, I decided to do a PowerPoint for you all. Title of the books, Do You Remember? Celebrating 50 Years of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Many of you may know I got the title from the famous line in the song September. Do you remember the 21st night of September? Earth, Wind, and Fire was founded by Maurice White. He was also from my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. And he moved to Chicago after graduating high school. Maurice White, he was in the band in junior high school. He played the drums. He also sang in a Baptist church. When he moved to Chicago, he attended the Chicago Conservatory of Music for a while. He was a session drummer for Chess Records. And he toured with the Ramsey Lewis Trio for 3 years. And after that, he decided to start his own band because he believed that music could help heal the world. So he had a special mission for his band. He wanted to have, magic, the philosophical lyrics, magic, and theatrics in his concert. And when he started the band in '69, it was not called Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was a rather unusual name. But when you read the book, you will find out. So in 1970, he decided to move to Los Angeles and revamp his band and give it a new name. The item that you see him holding is a thumb piano. He calls it the kalimba. It's a West African instrument. Some people have different names for it. Some people just call it a thumb piano, but he calls it a kalimba. As you see on the right, one of my students at Morehouse College understood I was a fan of Earth, Wind, and Fire and decided to make one for me, but he incorporates this into a lot of the songs of Earth, Wind, and Fire, which he plays. The first album was released in 1971, titled Earth, Wind, and Fire. It sold about maybe 30,000 copies, but they was just, getting into the groove. And by their fourth album, Head to the Sky in 1973, this is what kicked off their classic period. They had 2 hit songs, Evil and Keep Your Head to the Sky. And by their 6th album, That's the Way of the World, they had reached their breakout success. Earth, Wind, and Fire was the first Black artist to have the #1 album and #1 single on the Billboard pop chart simultaneously. The hit single was Shining Star, and of course the album, That's the Way of the World. This was also the soundtrack for a movie called That's the Way of the World, which they were in. The movie flopped, but the album was a huge success. I think it sold maybe 3 million copies. After the success of That's the Way of the World, Maurice White figured they need a more dynamic sound for their concerts. So he decided to incorporate the Phoenix Horns, a popular horn group, which added to their sound. Also, he wanted to intensify their concerts. This is an image of Verdine White, his younger brother, levitating on stage, entertaining the crowd. By 1976, he decided to use Kemetic symbols on the albums, Kemetic or ancient Egyptian. As you can see, these 3 pyramids are reminiscent of the pyramids at Giza. That's what they would have looked like about 4,000 years ago. bright limestone. And he explains why he decided to use these pyramids on this cover. Also, for the Spirit tour, he decided to also have a Kemetic theme and use pyramids on the tour. He was fascinated with Egyptology. He considered himself a child of the universe. He was always studying ancient religions, philosophies, and cosmology, but he was most drawn to ancient Egypt, which is also called Kemet or Kemet. 1977, this is the album cover. You see the Abu Simbel Temple, the pyramid with the light on top, which signifies enlightenment. And on the backside, you see the pyramid-shaped spaceships, which signifies man's ability to travel through the cosmos physically and spiritually. This is the inner sleeve of the album. Of course, you see all these different symbols from different religions and philosophies. I explained what all these symbols mean in the book, but Maurice White has stated that he wanted to use the symbols of Egypt in the presentation to remind Black folks of our rich and glorious heritage. In addition to that, there's scientific proof that all of mankind has African origins. He stated that we are all brothers. Everyone is connected. On some basic primal level, we are all a reflection of the universe, and in that reflection, we are connected to one divine source, which is God. Of course, you see the Bible at the forefront. For the All in All tour, we took it up a notch. They had magic in the shows, flying pyramids, disappearing acts, and I discussed the magicians that he worked with, the famous magicians that he worked with during that time. This tour was very expensive. They actually, I don't think they even broke even on it, but it was worth it. The Best of Earth, Wind, and Fire, this volume 1, contains the hit song September and some of their greatest hits. On the front of the album cover, that's the Egyptian god Haru, and on the back, you see a pharaoh with his headdress in front of a pyramid. 1979 I Am album, see the Egyptian columns. In the sun, you see a baby, or a fetus rather, and I explain in the book what all this means. Of course, you know I Am is the name of the Hebrew God in the Old Testament. Boogie Wonderland was a classic disco hit from 1979. As you can see the Emotions, the female singing group, which Maurice White produced, and the members of Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Phoenix Horns are with them, dressed in African Egyptian-inspired costumes. Faces, 1980, this was a double album produced by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Maurice White stated that this is his favorite album, but it didn't sell as well as the previous albums because many people were not buying double albums in 1980. But if you listen to it, you can see why it is possibly, it was his favorite. Here's another picture, the group dressed in Kemetic-inspired clothing. 1981 Ray's album contains the hit single Let's Groove. On the left side is the front. You see a sarcophagus, which is hyper-modern, futuristic style. A sarcophagus was an ancient Egyptian coffin. And on the right side, just a different variation of it. Maurice White called this album Raise because he wanted to raise the consciousness of people. Power Light on the left, there were 2 albums produced in 1983. Power Light, you see the man standing in front of the sun with his chakras illuminated. He named this album Power Light because while he was recording, something strange happened at the studio. I explained that in the book. On the right side, album Electric Universe, you see the illuminated pyramid with cones in the center. This signifies how technology was taken over then. Computers was taken over. You had drum machines, synthesizers then, as opposed to many instruments being used. So it's a hint to the past and also a hint to the future. After after Electric Universe, Maurice White put the band on hiatus because he was tired of been traveling for about 13, 14 years, all the touring and working. So he put the band on hiatus, and he and Philip Bailey did solo albums. But he decided that he did not want to be a solo artist, so he brought the band back together with some changes, and they had 2 more hit singles from this album in 1987. And after that, they continued to make more music and compilation albums. But in the early 90s, Maurice White had a health issue, and he decided, well, he wanted to, this album in 1993 to be their last album, Millennium, because of his health issue. But Philip Bailey and Verdine White decided that they could probably do this without Maurice. Maurice White would still be a part of the production of the music, but he would no longer tour with the band. So they continued to make albums, compilation albums, and they were still using the Kemetic symbols, as you can see, on some of the latter albums. Today, Verdine White, Philip Bailey, and Ralph Johnson are the core members of Earth, Wind & Fire. They are still touring with younger band members. And you can go to their website, earthwindandfire.com, to see where they will be touring. And that is our presentation, just a little brief, abbreviated chronology of Earth, Wind & Fire. My next book will be about the Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers turned 70 in 2024. So I'm writing the 70-year history of the Isley Brothers. This book, Do You Remember, is available on Amazon, also at the University Press of Mississippi website. I will put those links in the chat. So be looking out for it.
Just mention again the title of the book.
Do You Remember, Celebrating 50 Years of Earth, Wind & Fire by Trenton Bailey.
Okay, thank you very much, Trenton, for joining us on the Black Book Show virtual book tour. Look out very soon as well for the radio show and podcast interview of Trenton Bailey to find out even more about Earth, Wind & Fire. I see there's somebody who's put a question about Maurice White. Well, you know, when you listen to the radio show and the podcast, you have to listen to that to find out what happened, or get a copy of the book. White purchase a copy of his book, and it tells you all about what happened to Maurice White. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm just reading someone. I'm an avid fan of Earth, Wind & Fire. Are we buying the book? Someone said that. Okay, that's good. So yeah, please put the details of where people can get a copy of the book in the Zoom chat for people that are joining us via Zoom. I'm now going to go on to the next speaker, Sister Leggett from Nubian the Gifts Books. She is a sponsor of the Black Book Show. She's a not author, she's a bookseller. Sister Leggett, I'm going to allow you to tell the audience more about what you do. Some of them will be familiar with you, and if they're familiar, being on the Black Book Show, or watching or listening to previous shows. But Sister Leggett, please unmute yourself, put your video on, and then tell us all about Nubian the Gifts Books.
Okay, greetings everyone. I've missed some of you, but this is a very, very special show because it's the last one within the year. And also at this period of time, it's Kwanzaa. So today is the Kumba, which is a creativity in our culture. And all of you authors, you're all creative because you use a pen and you put down from your thoughts to the pen, to the computer, and before you know it, you've got a book. And what I would like to say is that it's been a wonderful journey, being a bookseller as well, and actually getting access to some of your books, and actually, I'll use that word again, reading it. So as Makonnen said, I'm just so proud of the brother because he actually became an author and then did his celebration for the year. And now this platform has just grown from strength to strength. And tonight, just to see so many of the authors from all over the world, this is just absolutely beautiful. It's just great to be here at this moment in time. So what I will do, I will put my details in the chat. and how you can contact me. Some of you might have contacted me and I haven't been able to get back to you ASAP, but I'm just looking forward to the new year of 2024, where you all could produce as many books as possible, because it's needed. And each topics that you assigned to has been absolutely fantastic. So the long run of it, it's been a pleasure being a sponsor as well. I just love what I do. I just love what Maconans do, and Auntie Gina's get again on their platform. So this one is just short and sweet, but as I said, you know, just keep doing what you do best, authors. I love each and every one of you, because it's a journey in itself. So you're sharing what's needed in our community, especially, and those who are self-publishers, well done. And it's great to know that there are other Black book publishers as well, because it's really, really needed. And many a times I've been asked about the publishing, and I forward the details. So tonight it's short and sweet, but just I want to leave you with this. Number one, just to look after your health and your mental health. Spirit. And also what we're going to work towards 2024. I love this book. It's Black Sterling, and the sister, it's Khadija Ward, and she literally helps you with your journey on how you can become independent economically, and which in turn will help the community. So I had other books to recommend, but it's okay. But been a wonderful, wonderful year. And all I can say for 2024 is I wish you all your health, your wealth, continue writing, because that is an awesome creativity, and it's not everyone that has that gift. So I'll finish here and say, I wish you all the best and many, many blessings for 2024. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you very
And
much,
take
Sister
care
Lidget
all.
from Nubian Niggis Books. Can you just please mention your email for those that are listening on Black Culture Radio and also on Facebook? If you can just say your
Oh
email
yes,
so that people
sorry.
can contact you.
Yes. My books is Nubian, Nubian, Nigist, Nigist, books, BOOKS. I'm also on Instagram, and you can contact me by email, all the same words, Nubian Nigist Books 7@gmail.com. And there's lots and lots of books that I have. So yeah, that's how you can contact me, everyone. I'll put the information in the chat now so that you have all my details. And those on the radio, hopefully I didn't speak too fast, but sometime during the show, maybe we can repeat it. Okay, take care, everyone. And as I said, lots and lots of love.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Lidget from Nubian Niggis Books, one of the sponsors of the Black Book Show. And a happy Kwanzaa, everyone. Something that she didn't mention when she was speaking. You know, we are in the Kwanzaa period. And on that note, I'm actually going to just take this opportunity to play a clip. I'm just going to share my screen. This was my, my minute or 2 minutes of fame. This was a video that I did when I had my high top hairstyle back then on this was me about 7-8 years ago now. It was on BBC Three. For those who may not know what Kwanzaa is, I'm just going to play this very short clip.
You have to really be on it if you want to. You have to really be on it if you want to find out about your roots, your history, and your culture. Kwanzaa is a 7-day festival that comes directly from the agricultural people of Africa that used to celebrate and give thanks to harvest at designated times of the year. My name is Makonnen Sankofa, and I'm from the African Heritage Network of Luton. Kwanzaa began in 1966. The first event of Kwanzaa took place in Los Angeles. Kwanzaa now is celebrated worldwide by millions of people. As African people or people from African heritage born in the UK, it's important that we reconnect with our ancestral homeland. People wrongly associate Kwanzaa with Christmas. Kwanzaa has got absolutely nothing to do with Christmas. The two are in no affiliation or association whatsoever. I think more people are celebrating Kwanzaa now because more people are becoming aware of it. It allows me to look back and see the achievements, the positive achievements that people of African heritage have made in the world.
Okay, so that was just a very brief clip about Kwanzaa that I did on behalf of African Heritage Network of Luton, which was broadcasted on BBC Three. As we are coming to a conclusion of the Black Book Show, this episode and quite especially the end of the year, we've got a lot more coming up in 2024 as we'll be going into the fourth year of the Black Book Show. So a lot more to be coming out. So watch this space. If you haven't already, please join. The Facebook group is the best place. For the Black Book Show, for information regarding the Black Book Show. That is the Black Book Shows. If you put that on Facebook, the Black Book Show, the Black Book Show, if you put that on Facebook. And just a reminder that this episode of the Black Book Show is being shared on the Black Book Show Facebook group. So after this show, after it finishes, the Black Book Show, this episode, you can go back on Facebook and watch the show. It will also be uploaded at a later date as well on P English Literature YouTube channel. So I'm just going to share my screen now just so you can see the Facebook group. So the Facebook group, it's just, the Black Books Show, and you'll know you're in the right place if you see this logo here come up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hand it over to Auntie Jean to just say your final comments before I conclude with the Black Book Show. I know Auntie Jean's African Culture Market is going to be seeing you into the new year, so you can continue watching, but as far as the Black Book Show is concerned, I'm just going to hand it over to Auntie Jean if she's got any final comments on this segment of Auntie Jean's African Culture Market.
Hotep, sorry, that's me, isn't it? That's my cue. Apologies, I was just basically on the phone. Yes, a wonderful presentation from all the authors. And I didn't realize, thank you, Terence, Mr. Trenton, that the African Divide was so fascinating. I just I knew there was kind of a conscious fan, but didn't realize how conscious. But thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. And this goes out to all authors as well. If you want to elaborate more on your books, you can come back onto either the Garvey Village or the ACM, the Auntie Jean's African Culture Market Zoom, to have, to elaborate more on your books. And the stories of your books, then please do contact me. I shall put my details into the chat. You can contact me via phone, which will be +44 961 886 032. I should repeat, +44 or 07 if you're in the country, 961 886 032. And thank you all. Makonnen Sankofa, thank you. Another year, and this is the last day of this year. And thank you so much. It's been wonderful. All the authors that you've brought to this platform, the collaboration. It's just been an eye opener, because some people say that there's not a lot of Black authors. Hey, you say that. You can't say that. there's authors, we have authors everywhere and good quality authors as well. And you have got a very unique, as I say, talent of finding these authors and bring them to the surface so that we all can witness and experience and read their books. So I'd like to say a big, big thank you from me to you. Thank you, Makonnen.
Yes, there's more Black authors of African heritage now than there's ever been before. I mean, publishing a book now, period, is a lot more simplified now than in previous generations. You know, where traditional publisher route, so many people had to go down that, or certain other kind of publishing where, you know, there's different places that people now can publish. Obviously, there's Amazon, there's Ingram, Spot, so many independent self-published where people don't necessarily, you know, have to go to, you know, traditional publishing route or even independent publishers. A lot of people just self-publish and do it themselves. But the whole process, even if they are getting an independent publisher, which if you're written, you know, your first book, I would strongly recommend you to go with someone like, again, like Dr. Tamara Foley. She was on the platform earlier. She can help you just to ease the process for you. But the whole publishing process being made a lot simpler for people at grassroots level and people that, you know, just want to get in and publish in a book. And it's been made a lot more affordable as well now to also publish a book as well. So I mean, something that someone mentioned earlier was, you know, learning, and I've learned from having this platform now for 3 years and about 3 years, 7 months, is that I'm always learning by watching the shows, whether the virtual book tour, the radio show, and the podcast. And there's so much, to me, it's educational, because obviously I think everyone who talks about their books, like I think it was Glenna that spoke about earlier, you know, if you've written a book, generally you are expert, you know, in your field. You must know a lot because you've written a whole book on it. So, you know, whether it is about sickle cell, whether it's about you know, mental health, you know, whether it's about relationships or finance, or whatever the kind of books of the, you know, the range that of books, job hunting that I've had on the Black Book Show has been so varied. So I've learned so much information that I may have not, well, I probably wouldn't have come across so much of this information had you know, and not had this platform. So it's been a great learning tool for me, and I hope for, you know, the whole audience of people that have listened and watched, you know, these Black Book shows, whether the virtual book tours, the radio shows, and podcasts. So I would just like to conclude and say, you know, thank you for the support, everyone, for the Black Book Show. You know, whether it's this episode or for the year. Hopefully, you know, we'll have more support in 2024. We've got a lot more coming up. Happy New Year to everyone. As I know Auntie Jean will be seeing you into the new year of Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. But as far as, you know, the Black Book Show is concerned on, you know, this particular episode, we are concluding now. But please feel free if you would like to, you know, stay. I know Auntie Jean has got more coming up on the African Culture Market. This is a collaboration, the Black Book Show, in collaboration with Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. It's basically like an event within an event. So yeah, please feel free to stay tuned and check out the rest of the show of Auntie Jean's African Culture Market. But as far as the Black Book Show is concerned, I'd just like to wish you a happy new year and just say goodbye for me.
Goodbye. See you. Happy New Year.